Hey all, and welcome back for another HellfireComms Patreon TV com. We've actually got a triple bill of comms for you today. We're going to be checking out the first 3 episodes of Samurai Jack, which first released in 2001 on the Cartoon Network. These were all requested, like, one per month by Robert Hollander, so I decided we'll just do it more on a row. I got Volk with me here today, and do you have any experience with the Samurai and the Jack?
Oh, I have lots of experience. I have watched pretty much every single episode, maybe barring 1 or 2, but that kind of depends on which ones I ended up missing whilst it was originally airing on TV. And, of course, I watched through the whole of Season 5.
Yeah, Season 5, I think, was the first time I ever watched Jack as it was, like, airing. I'd usually catch reruns of the original series, and it's mostly pretty great. It's like a sort of grim, but mostly optimistic, like, a samurai action series. You have Phil Lamar as the main character and whatnot, and well, there's certain issues we could talk about there, but let's not overshadow just how great of a show Samurai Jack actually was, and let's actually get into things here. What we're going to do is we're recording these all on the same Audacity file, and basically we want you to bring up episode 1 right now and stop it, so it's on 0 seconds obviously, and we'll count you down into that. Use the instructions in the video description if you're not sure as to what to do. Obviously we can't provide you with the media, copyrights, yada yada, and once episode 1 is done, we'll ask you to stop the video and load up episode 2 while we're just blathering on about how episode 1 was, and then we'll do the same thing at the end of episode 2 and you bring up episode 3, yada yada. Just keep that in mind for the future, because the TV.com tier on Patreon has upgraded, so you'll be seeing a lot more videos with multiple episode commentaries inside of them, so it'll be a good thing to note down. But yeah, let's get right on into episode 1 of Samurai Jack in 3, 2, 1. This is kind of a bittersweet thing, because the main villain of the piece, Aku, the shape-shifting master of darkness, his original VA is sadly no longer with us. He was obviously voiced by Mako, who was also General Iroh in Avatar The Last Airbender. But for Season 5, as Volk mentioned, he I guess was replaced, for lack of a better word, by Greg Baldwin, who did a pretty good job, but I don't think like everyone saw it as reasonably as I did.
I saw it as it was a good spiritual homage to the original Aku, which also had its own unique spin on it.
I would argue that this was basically, it was one of the shows from the golden era of Cartoon Network. Like, it was obviously after the 90s had ended, so you had reruns of, like, Dexter's Lab, Johnny Bravo, maybe a bit of Cow and Chicken here and there, although I don't know if I'd call that a golden era sort of show. But you also had things like Powerpuff Girls. I'm not sure if Foster's Home was that early. I think that came a few years later, but this was definitely one of the highlights of the network back in the day.
Well, to answer your question, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends was in 2004, which was, if I'm looking at this list correctly, 3 years after the original air date of Samurai Jack. And Samurai Jack actually ended not soon after Foster's Home started, in September 2004.
Okay. So this is the pilot episode, but since we're doing all 3, it's probably best to say it's sort of like a made-for-TV movie. Like, these 3 run concurrent, consecutively, whatever the C word is to describe them. But after that, it's sort of episodic, so you could have Jack facing down these Anubis-looking creatures who are blind but have excellent senses of hearing, so he has to get to a magical well without being shot to death by arrows. And then in another episode you have him dealing with a boisterous Scotsman, and then you have an episode with what was apparently a farting dragon, which I think everyone tends to push to the back of their minds when talking about Samurai Jack.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that one. Yeah, definitely not one of the high points of the series, if you ask me.
Gorgeous art throughout this, by the way. Like, obviously you have a few stereotypical depictions of certain races in the show, but other than that, it's still with the most respect I think one could have for making a cartoon about the samurai, or like Edo era, I think. Obviously, it's going to take a turn for the time period change at the drop of a hat, so don't get used to, like, all these old, ancient samurai times here. Yeah, it'll change on a dime soon enough.
But in its place, you'll get all kinds of wonderful imagery of a dystopian future, and one thing that you'll get used to very quickly, in Samurai Jack especially, is that they do like to do a lot of visual play.
Yes.
Like, the episode you mentioned about the blind dodges is a brilliant example of that, where it tries to represent as best as possible, sort of seeing through sound. And you'll get a lot of other things like that as well, plenty of flashing lights and God knows what else. It's a really, really just fun series just to watch visually, because they do a lot of crazy stuff with the art style.
It was kind of a risk for Cartoon Network as well, I believe, and I think it's only because Gennady Tartakovsky, who also worked on the first season of Dexter's Lab, I believe. I'm not sure if he returned for the second, but most people don't seem to have very good opinions about the second. He must have had some clout to be able to pull this off, because often in Samurai Jack, there's long stretches of just nothing. And I don't mean like nothing's happening, just like silence. So you just feel the atmosphere dripping down the screen, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a very atmospheric show in general. It's something that you don't really get to see in cartoons on that era, because a lot of cartoons in that era rely on their humor and their joke delivery.
Yeah.
Whereas this seems to rely almost, I wouldn't say entirely, but it relies quite heavily on its visual style to help drive the narrative.
Man, they're just going all out to stop Aku, and fair play to the guy. He just wakes up from being a tree. Good job that Eclipse came around when it did, I guess. And then he comes in, and he says, "Hey, Emperor of Japan, or whoever the fuck you are, Jack's dad, I'm gonna come in, and this is what I think of your army."
It's like, fuck your house, fuck your catapults. And look, I have laser eyes, bitches.
Of course
now
I do.
what?
Ah ha ha! I love imitating Aku. He's such a fun villain.
He really is. He has like that fun. He has like those moments of just extreme insanity, and then he has like those deadpan moments where he's just absolutely fed up with life because he's been trying to take out this samurai for God knows how long, and everybody seems to be failing him. So he's just like, oh my god. It's like, this is the shit I have to deal with.
Not to give too much away, but he kind of undergoes an existential crisis in Season 5, and he's immobile for most of that up until near the end.
Yeah, and and the catalyst for that is pretty much Scaramouche, who, by the way, probably one of the best characters in Season 5, comes over and says, "Hey, Jack doesn't have his sword anymore."
He is loving that shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, come on, you just woke up and you just had the time of your life trouncing some fool's army and his house.
Well, I guess Jack's father is going to be tortured for years now, but that's fine because Jack is being spirited away, and I guess it's time to train with that magical sword.
Yep, he's got to go back and get revenge for his daddy.
The sword will be your father now, do not worry.
It's like, I have a confession to make. I've been having an affair with the sword.
Oh, okay, she's keeping the sword. I forgot about that. Man, it has been a while since I watched the first 3 episodes of Jack.
I suppose it's a whole thing of once you're ready, you will have the sword. I suppose you've got to train with wooden bamboo sticks and what have you for the time being.
For sure. He already seemed a little bit down because his father gave him a toy sword to play with.
Oh yeah, you can tell they've been kind of not so subtly prepping him up for this moment. And so we sail away to destiny.
Ah, you know, he's getting astronomy lessons, or is it astrology? No, astrology is the bullshit one, never mind.
I think so, yeah, I think you're right. And this is your horoscope. Soon you will be a burly caveman. It's like, well, I wanted to be a samurai warrior. Nope, says caveman here, sorry.
See, this is a variation of those nothing moments I was talking about. Not much dialogue, but it's all done through visuals and whatnot, with very nice music in the background. The score of Jack is, mwah, it's beautiful.
It has a really good mix of, like, upbeat techno music and, like, those more oriental style tunes. It's pretty fantastic.
God, oriental, there's a word to use, Jesus, Vol.
They're visiting the sultans. It's like, hey, we got horses. What have you got? I had a city once, but that's kind of gone now.
Yeah, that's Aku's now. And yeah, by the way, don't look for too much like time cohesion here. We're gonna see like all eras basically existing at the same time. It's sort of like Disney's Hercules in that regard. So you'll see ancient Egyptians and Romans all at the same time.
I don't think they did, like, a huge amount of research in that regard. I guess they just wanted to go with what they thought would look cool and maybe, like, represent all kinds of different cultures. So
yeah.
They kind of threw, like, reality to the wayside, but at the same time, they wanted to just go, well, you know what? We kind of want to feature these guys, so we're just going to do it.
It's just an alternate universe at the end of the day. And see, look at this. There's barely anything on screen, but it's still so expressive.
And I mean, this is just a pilot episode as well, so you can tell that they were a little bit limited in that regard, and yet they were still able to kind of put forward what would eventually be the benchmark for the rest of the episodes of Jack going in.
Well, don't forget, pilot episodes tend to have a bigger budget than regular, seasons and whatnot.
Oh yeah, but you have to remember as well with pilot episodes, it's more about they're presenting something not necessarily for the first time, but definitely like the first time in motion and like properly put together.
Right.
And then as they create more episodes, they sort of find their center and they start really, really going ham on sort of like what they want to specialize in.
So we have pitch black Africans here. I'm pulling up my shirt collar right now, Volk.
I'm sure you are. I can't see it, but I can practically smell it.
But yeah, this is where he's learning staff, combat, and oh. Yeah, you weren't expecting that, were you?
He hasn't quite got the signature yell yet. One of my favourite parts about Jack is when he just like charges towards the screen and goes, "Ah!"
Oh, yeah, Phil Lamar goes ham with his yells and whatnot. Oh, I can't wait until adult Jack makes his debut.
We shouldn't have to wait long. I believe it comes about the halfway point, if I remember correctly.
God, did we run all the way to the next destination? Yes, we're just in ancient Egypt now.
Yeah, you know what? Just pyramids, because why the hell not?
It's kind of cool, actually. Like, again, alternate Earth/universe, but it enables, like, Tarkovsky and his team to just utilize all these mythologies and whatnot. They all have their own histories, like, intermingling at the same time.
It's really quite wonderful, especially when you put it that way. And now we got Rome. Just next door to the pyramids.
I don't think it's accurate when they're panning up and whatnot.
It's like an episode of Sid Meier's Civilization. It's just like, yeah, you got, like, Niagara Falls next to the pyramid, and you just got Big Ben just around the corner. Why not? And this is where Jack learns pro wrestling and soon gets the alter ego of the Samurai.
The Samurai! He's a bad motherfucker.
Oh, that was one of my favorite episodes. Actually, we could probably talk a little bit about that. Like,
yeah.
What are the episodes that really stand out to you? Like, what is quintessential Jack to you? And it's just Robin Hood as well, just distracting me completely.
It's fine, man, don't worry about it. It's not quite Errol Flynn, but I'll accept it. It's obviously going to have to be the Blind Archers one. That's just quintessential Jack for me. But do you have an episode guide? Or if you could skim through, if you would, please.
I don't have an episode guide handy, but I can definitely name a few episodes. There was one where Jack discovers this weird Totoro-looking creature that has like an Ed, Ed, and Eddie soundboard for like its entire voice palette. That was a really fun episode. You didn't really get much in the way of spoken dialogue, but it's just this weird creature just doing weird shit with Jack. It was great. Probably one of my favorites. Another one was the one where he finds the scientist, and Aku sends these really super powerful robots that are essentially living in baskets.
Oh, I remember
and they kick
that,
his ass,
yeah.
And then a scientist dude came over and figured out that he couldn't cut through them was because he didn't have enough arm strength. So he built him like this huge metal gauntlet. And then by the end of it, he found out a way to do it without the gauntlet. And like part of the episode was him trying to get Jack to give him a high five.
Yeah,
high
five. High five. I remember that, yeah.
I do not understand. Never mind.
We haven't actually gotten to any, like, combat and whatnot yet, but that was a big thing with Samurai Jack. It was a quite violent show for Cartoon Network, but how did they get around those, I don't know, limitations and whatnot? They made all the enemies robots in the future.
Of course, that all changed in Season 5, but, that was when it was on Adult Swim, and they could really, kind of do whatever the heck they wanted with it. They didn't have to worry about making sure it wasn't going to be too violent. They knew exactly where this show was targeted towards, and all those people are pretty much mature and grown up by now, so, you can get all the blood and guts and what have you. Well, not exactly the guts, but plenty of blood.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see, look, we haven't had any lines of dialogue for roughly 5+ minutes now. Can you imagine that happening in a modern-day Cartoon Network show?
Not really. I think Cartoon Network these days especially have kind of gone back to the roots of trying to propel themselves via the humor and their comedy delivery again, as opposed to taking huge risks with Samurai Jack and things like that, because I feel like shows like Jack have moved along to Adult Swim nowadays. So all those weird cartoons that you may not necessarily risk on like a big place like Cartoon Network, they end up going towards Adult Swim. So you've got things like, well, you've still got like your weird sort of Cow and Chicken-esque things, I guess, like Aqua Teen, Hunger Force, and C-Lab, and a couple of others I could probably name, given enough time to recall them. But they also come up with some really genuinely good ones, like there's The Venture Brothers, which is probably one of my favourite shows on Adult Swim, just period, in all honesty. And then you got other stuff like Metalocalypse as well, that's also pretty great. A bit weird to get into, but it's a good laugh, it's a good laugh.
For sure. He's ready now, Volk. It is time.
Oh, is it time for the showdown?
Oh, well, bit more training, swing the sword a few times. He has like a limit, you can't see it, because they didn't have the budget to animate such a glorious hit counter, but it's there, and he just passed it, and he's ready now.
Oh, hell yeah. We get to see the origin story come full circle, and then we'll be ready for an episode to long ago in a distant land. I, a Koogly Eyes.
Why? I'm just gonna have that stuck in my head for the rest of the time now.
I haven't been able to get it out of my head since I first saw it. It was amazing.
Yeah, he's done a little bit of redecorating in Jack's hometown while, you know, Jack's been galliganting, whatever the fuck words just came out of my mouth, off in distant lands, training and whatnot.
Well, I want to know who his contractors is, because, like, goddamn, they managed to do a lot to this place in a relatively short period of time.
Well, it's been about, like, 20 years or so.
It's like, soon my theme park will be complete.
Yes, just turn this thing around. It does nothing in particular. It's like when Homer's stuck in the bottom part of the nuclear power plant, rotating the thing that just makes the donuts turn upstairs.
It's just like, this must be viewable at 360 degrees. I like how they basically stole the weird Crayola dudes from Star Wars and made them a little bit more oldie time.
Oh, come on, this came out like... Actually, which Star Wars are you referring to?
I believe usually episode 5 and 6 is where you first started seeing, like, the red armor-clad dudes. Or aka the Crayola Warriors, as I like to call them.
Do you have the voice cast list up for Jack, by any chance, mate?
I do have the IMDb up, yes.
Could you tell us who voices the Emperor, Jack's father?
The Emperor is voiced by Clay Kusatsu? I think I'm pronouncing that correctly?
The voice sounds so familiar, but I can't think of any notable roles, unfortunately.
If I remember correctly, I think he was the narrator for the Last Airbender show.
Yes, most likely. Like previously on Avatar. Oh, wait, did he voice Roku by any chance?
Roku. Let me just take a quick look and see if I can find it here. He's been in a lot of stuff. So, Roku. Avatar Roku, Winter Solstice Part 2.
Yep, there you go.
Man knows his shit when it comes to Avatar.
Oh wait, was it just in Solstice Part 2, or were there other episodes?
As far as I'm aware, I think it's just in Winter Solstice. At least that's the only one I can see him credited for.
Yeah, he's just the narrator then. That's cool, that's cool. And obviously we have Phil Lamar as Jack, who will actually start talking in a little moment. He was Hermes on Futurama. He's a bunch of characters in video games and whatnot. It would take us too long, and we'd run over time on the first episode just discussing all his roles and whatnot.
Now you just got it in my head, Samurai Jack crying out for his man-witch.
What?
Well, it was the whole thing with Hermes Conrad from Futurama. My man-witch!
I will avenge you, man-witch!
God damn it. Now I'm just picturing like the entire plot of Samurai Jack just being about Jack trying to get his man-witch back from the future.
Father, why are you super aged? Here, in the season 5 finale, you seem young again, as if time has had no effect on you. This just raises further questions.
Oh, Hermes was great. Phil Lamar has been in quite a few decent things though, and he's voiced some of my... I wouldn't say all of my favorite characters, because certainly in Samurai Jack in particular, there is one voice actor coming up who's voiced a hell of a lot more characters that I consider iconic from my childhood, but we'll get to him in the second part. See, even when he's all slaved up by Aku, dear old dad still has some words of wisdom for his boy.
Oh yeah. I think that's one, like, Asian stereotype that, like, yeah, it's offensive in the sense that, you know, not everyone is going to be smart in that culture. Like, they could be of average intelligence, above average, below average, but it's just a nice, like, old man trope more than anything, I think.
Oh yeah. It's the father figure that you want, really.
Please, Daddy, please come home. I'll stop playing Nintendo games.
Well, no time for Nintendo games now. I think we are due our showdown with Aku any moment now.
I love how his horse is badass as well. Oh, beautiful!
Oh yeah, that's the sort of level of quality you can come to expect as far as the visuals go.
Oh, I've been riding for 20 hours and I gotta do some platforming now? Ugh. I don't remember these ghosts at all.
I thought those ghosts were from Sesame Street or something for a minute there.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, what the hell?
Jack jumps a lot in this series.
There's even an episode that actually focuses on his jumping specifically as well.
Ah, samurai, you can fly? No, jump good.
I love how even the platforms in Aku's tower are just basically the shape of flames. You could tell he was going for a particular motif and he just stuck with it the whole way through.
Alright, here we go. You've been training for 20 plus years, it seems, Jack. It might be like only 15 plus. I don't know, I can't give you an actual number, but you better be ready now.
And you can tell Aku is not happy about being called out.
Oh no. Oh. I fucking love Mako, man.
Just a fantastic villain in general.
Jack's voice is a lot harsher in this first episode. I think it softened as the episodes went on.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it was just something that they were trying for the pilot episode, and then they thought maybe he should be a little more somber, I think is the right term.
Yeah, well, he has every reason to be, as we'll see soon, so...
Although that's not to say that sort of like gruff, angry Jack doesn't make a comeback, because there's a couple of particular episodes that I can think of, like where he just gets absolutely mad because his sandal thing broke, and then he creates an evil version of himself. And then a lot of the beginning of Season 5 also plays into that as well.
Yeah, that's right, I can shapeshift. What, you didn't hear me when I said shapeshifting Master of Darkness? What are you, high?
I, Aku, the Boss Rush Master of Darkness.
He just turns into like Quick Man and Cut Man.
What boss we got this time? Oh, it's the boss from Stage 2, the Scorpion.
Ah.
I love how even through all these transformations, he still keeps that goofy looking face.
Yeah. Aku was so unimpressed by that heroic boast that he just goes straight into attacking again. I like that. I like a villain that doesn't deliberate.
Yeah, he's very straight up about his approach. Although I think after the time skip, he becomes a bit more complacent. But then again, I suppose when you've become the ruler of all things for as long as he has, you'd be bored a little bit as well.
This is the one transformation that you always see in the intro, I believe.
I think you might be right, but then again, we got the intro coming in part 2, so we'll find out before long, I guess.
Well, hopefully. I don't know if these copies actually have it, because I didn't want to, like, look through and colour my commentary, so to speak.
That's fair enough. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Just go running in midair, because Aku.
Dude, I have a magical sword that literally, not theoretically, not metaphorically, literally cuts through the darkness. Why try and take me head on?
One thing I quite like is that, if I'm thinking about this correctly, I think Aku's forms generally get smaller and smaller the more Samurai Jack cuts him down.
Mm-hmm.
That's always a nice touch, I thought, because I think it could keep that as a constant throughout whenever you get Jack and Aku having a proper showdown. It doesn't happen very often, but you do like get the odd thing, like after a few episodes have passed of just Jack messing around with different characters, he ends up just having a big old scrap with Aku, and those moments are always hype. You look forward to those quite a lot.
Don't get complacent, Jack. You haven't met your mercy, but you're not dead yet. Oh, it's happening, Volk!
That was a rather chilling delivery of that line as well. I disagree. You know, the thing is, knowing what we know kind of puts it in a different perspective.
That's cool, though. I love time loops like that. Jack to the Jack, Samurai Jack. Watch out! I always thought it was Wacha, to be honest.
So did I, and I just tend to stick with it.
Alright guys, close down episode 1, and just while we talk a little bit about the first episode, go ahead and load up episode 2, please. So, what do you think of episode 1 of Samurai Jack, mate? How do you feel it set the tone?
I feel like it set the tone pretty damn well, judging by what I already know, obviously, because watching this show for the first time, you obviously wouldn't know what entirely to expect, but knowing what I know and then seeing the pilot episodes, it's amazing to me just how much the show kind of evolved from its pilot all the way to the episodes that would come afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Absolutely gorgeous. Like, atmosphere, tension, voice work, all beautifully done. And I'm just excited to get into the second part now. So if you guys have episode 2 up, we shall begin in 3, 2, 1. Okie dokie, episode 2 of Samurai Jack, and there's the intro, Volk!
Yes, the most hypest of intros.
Unspeakable evil! I like to describe that when I own someone online.
It would be nice. And yes, you were right, by the way, from episode 1. That octopus does make the appearance in the pilots in this here intro, so it will be forever immortalized as one of Aku's main forms, I guess.
Yeah, what I love about the intro is it's a recap, but it's also like super stylish on its own, and now we're going to go into the main theme of the show, which is very, very simple. It's only a few words, but it's iconic as hell.
And now we are in the very, very far future, and everything's kind of fucked, yo.
Like, we got cats riding on what seem to be grasshoppers there, but don't worry, they're robots.
Yep, it's all good, it's all PG. But one thing I always like about Jack, especially with what the intro actually shows you, is that they always use different robots. It's not like the same run-of-the-mill stuff you're like used to seeing like in and out of a day. They always try and do something different, which is something I've always respected. They always sort of present something new in each episode, generally speaking.
For sure. Alright, we get a little bit of a recap here. I'm turning around to recap you, samurai.
You know what would have been really, really funny? If as Aku was turning around, it sort of transitioned to that wooden beam with his face on it. But then again, this is probably the reason why I don't direct and produce a show like this, because I would just turn it to shit. Oh,
you would just turn it into, like, the reboot would just be called Jack. Like, it wouldn't even have any mention of samurai.
It's like, it'll just be the ultimate 24-minute long shitpost.
Samurai Jacked Up or something like that. This is really well paced for a recap as well. It's not just blah 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 this happened, blah 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 that happened. It's literally just abridging the first episode.
And they only do the important bits as well. You don't get any of the running around and what have you. So they're right to the point. I can appreciate that.
Oh no! You fooled me! Ah!
I love that little bling at the end. It's like something out of a video game.
Ah, it's really hurting, which is funny because it didn't happen that way at the end of Season 5!
I'm becoming Gygus from Earthbound!
Teaser warning. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
And here we are.
Oh my
we are
god.
Officially in the future. And we kind of... Yeah, this ain't the ideal place to be.
Kind of fell into Batman Beyond for a second there.
Oh, that is another quality cartoon series. Like, my god, Batman Beyond. I think that is a show that I would compare almost directly with Samurai Jack, because they have that same kind of playing on the visual style. Although I think Batman Beyond was maybe a little bit more badass, depending on who you ask.
Well, Samurai Jack doesn't really try to be badass, like, as a show and as a character. It just is, where I feel sometimes they pushed the badassitude with, like, the crazy future lingo and whatnot, like Shui and so on and so forth. We called it Batman of the Future in the UK.
Oh yeah, that we did. It was only Beyond in the US. I always found it a bit odd. But it was a top quality show though, seriously. If you want a show that's very similar to like how Samurai Jack presents itself, go watch Batman Beyond. It is just an incredible show in general, but if you're a fan of Jack, you will absolutely love it.
I wasn't prepared for this in basic training.
I'd hate to think how many miles to the gallon that thing gets. And you may have seen some colourful figures over there. Yep, they will be important later on. I love that look of just, Mommy, please. It's like, wait a minute, I'm Samurai Jack.
There you go. Use its own size against it.
Howdy doody, colourful strangers.
How do you do, my fellow samurai? You don't look like samurai.
So I'll say this right away. The guy in the green is voiced by the legendary Ron Paulson.
Oh, yeah.
Who you might recognize from Pinky and the Brain. You can kind of hear it in there. It's not quite as obvious, but I suppose the gangster speak helps hide it a little bit.
Yeah.
But as well as Pinky and the Brain, he also voices Yakko Warner from the Animaniacs.
Yes, we all know who Rob Paulson voices, mate. The blue guy is Michael Richardson, and I think the red guy is actually Phil Lamar again, because he sounds like Roberto from Futurama.
I believe you are actually correct. I believe that is also Phil Lamar playing the part of a passerby. I don't understand all this future lingo, Tom. It's all well and past me.
Jack is like, I cannot sanction this future buffoonery.
I love it. He's like a very disappointed dad. It's just like, is this what the kids are getting into these days? I love the fact that he's wearing a lava lamp as a hat as well.
Also, you may have noticed they just keep referring to him as Jack. Jack is actually not his name. I guess the closest approximation would just be Prince. I don't think it's ever said or stated in the show.
I guess they just thought Jack was a name and he just kind of stuck with it. I suppose it's quite a common name as well, because you sort of like hear the phrase, you don't know Jack, thrown around every now and again. So Jack is one of those really common names that just kind of just get thrown out whenever you want to come up with an imaginary name. So I guess that's probably part of the reason they used it.
So yeah, it is a type of fish out of water sort of situation here, and they do play it up for laughs, but it's nowhere near as grating as it is in like other sort of cartoons and whatnot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Although they do like little subtle things here and there to show how he's kind of reacting to this whole thing. Like, you get those little hints of slight anxiety when they're sort of talking about Aku and all that.
Like, could you imagine, like... Imagine, right? Yeah, I'm gonna need you to actually use your imagination for this, because it's something that will never ever happen. Aku busts into your house, right? And he warps you 3,000 years into the future. How do you think you would react?
Probably very poorly. Especially if the future looked like this.
Yeah, ruled by Aku and whatnot.
Well, it's not so much a ruling by Aku thing, it's more like the actual architecture and the infrastructure. It's a little bit intimidating just to look at.
Yeah, it's all very sharp and whatnot. I think Aku was just a fan of Blade Runner, really.
Oh no, but then again, even in Blade Runner, they kind of knew to have like square tops and what have you. Yep, I had the same reaction when I first heard dubstep, Jack. It's fine. Ain't no thing.
We're all have our own element when loud music starts playing, really. Wow, rude.
And of course, they got the dancers in the glass boxes, very dystopian futuresque. Although I suppose they do it a lot in just future in general as well. like, I know in a couple of movies, I couldn't name them, but you saw they have like the dancers like in suspended cages and what have you. That tends to be quite common.
Yeah, Kennedy likes his women as well. He's not quite Christopher Sanders, the guy behind Lilo and Stitch, but he's getting there.
Mm-hmm. Man knows what he wants.
Fortunately, Jack doesn't seem to know what he wants. Like, did the slug guy even want to fight, or was that just his way of saying, I like you, hello?
You have insulted my honor. We must engage in combat.
Oh, no, well, I've got a sword and you've got a gun. It's quite easy to see who wins here. Okay, my bad. It wasn't a gun, it was a dentist equipment thing?
It's like the world's most obtuse toothpick. Oh, Jack's about to mess up the joint.
As you can see, there's robotic parts poking out. I think this is something that would obviously come into play at the start of Season 5, that, yeah, I don't think Jack's ever killed someone before.
No, not until Season 5. The thing is, that there's something that always bothered me, and something I've actually been thinking about whilst I've been sort of getting into the mood to do this commentary, but say, for example, Adult Swim existed around this time, and Samurai Jack was to air pretty much on Adult Swim exclusively.
Right.
What percentage of the various creatures that he encounters on his journey do you think would have still have been robots if it was pretty much on something like Adult Swim from the get-go?
Probably about 25 to 40%.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a very large number, because the robots do make sense in some areas, but there are some like those lizard dudes, like, you would pretty much expect them to be human right up to the point where Jack kind of cleaved his arm off.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, that's Rob Paulson. I don't even need you to tell me either.
Yes, and these are one of the first, I suppose, minor characters Jack will encounter on his journey.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing is in Season 5 is that these guys, as well as all the other people that Jack comes across, actually appear again in Season 5.
Yes, they do.
I think there's only a few that don't, but for the most part, you will eventually see them again.
Well, he may be out of his comfort zone here, but that training's paying off, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's jotting those missiles like a champ.
Why is there a Scottish dog? How does this universe work, Volk?
It's a Scotty dog.
Okay, fair enough.
I know some of my dog breeds, I'll have you know.
I'm just putting in mind of the talking dog from Powerpuff Girls, like the one who causes a traffic jam, and one he's like, well, it may be a talking dog, but I sure as heck can't drive.
Oh, I remember him. Oh, he was great. He was my spirit animal if there ever was one around that time.
And what's nuts is, I think there's like an episode of Samurai Jack, it might be in like these 3 pilot episodes, it might not, but there is very clearly a shot of a destroyed city, and it's very obviously Townsville from the Powerpuff Girls, and Jack even looks a little bit like Professor Utonium, design-wise.
Yeah, a lot of people have actually pointed that out, and I mean, Cartoon Network isn't really a stranger to its crossovers and cross-references. Like, I can remember sort of like their sizzle reels that they used to have in between shows, where they'd have the characters from different cartoon shows interacting with each other. And you had one with like Samurai Jack and Johnny Bravo at the laundrette. That was a particularly fun one that I remember.
Well, I won't call it fun, I call it a little bit socially awkward, because like, Johnny's checking out Jack in his boxes and whatnot, and it's like, it's fine. But, Jack's a traditional guy, where am I going with this? Maybe I should shut my mouth before I make a boo-boo.
Alright, the point I'm trying to make, though, is that it was a neat idea, and
yes.
It would eventually come later on that the shows themselves would actually start making more obvious crossovers. Like with Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, for instance, they had a moment where they had 3 dudes that were blatantly meant to be Ed, Ed, and Eddie in there. And then in The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, they had a huge crossover with codename Kids Next Door. And like right at the beginning, it involves Billy ripping his dad's pants. He's like, there's only one group of kids who can help me now. And it literally cuts to the Eds, like, with their problem-solving business. It's just like, hey, got a pesky problem? We'll fix it for just one lousy quarter. And then he just goes, wait, what do you mean you're broke? Hey, if you're looking for charity, call Kids Next Door. They're cheap.
I love it. Like, it's not quite Pixar levels of every film exists in the same universe canon, but it's just really cool in one, though.
Oh, it was such a fun episode. I would say that maybe it was one of my favorite episodes of Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, but I think I might be lying. Because I think the one where Billy gets transported to that Viking world is probably, like, one of the best ones. So, let's see what these dogs are all about. If I remember correctly, I believe they're archaeologists.
Makes sense, I guess. They're sort of wearing stereotypical, archaeologist gear and whatnot. I swear, either these dogs or the ones in, like, Season 5 are all based on, like, famous Cartoon Network dogs and whatnot. Like, there was one that very clearly looked like Scooby-Doo and the like.
This guy reminds me of one in particular. Droopy? Like, maybe a little bit of Droopy, not, like, a huge deal, but maybe some resemblance.
Well, the big dog on the left actually reminds me of Yogi Bear, like, the tie and whatnot.
Oh no, he reminds me of, like, that big hairy dog. I can't remember where it was from. Like, I want to say something along the lines of Hong Kong Phooey, but...
Number one super guy?
Oh yeah, this very same.
Well, instead of 2 stupid dogs, we have 3 not-so-stupid dogs here.
And you know what? We're in the future, and there's not a single cat dog in sight. I'm disappointed.
That's a good No, that's a good future. Cat Dog was a mean-spirited shit of a show.
It kind of was. Although I did like the theme song. The theme song was pretty good.
Actually, you know what's a really mean-spirited show and was also on Cartoon Network? The Cramp Twins. Fuck that show.
Yeah, I tried so hard to get into it, thinking there would be, like, some kind of payoff after, like, the next few episodes, but it never ended up coming.
No.
Just like, everyone's dicks to each other, and it's just like, oh, come on, really? I watch TV to feel good, not feel bad. There was another show that, like, I can guarantee there may be, like, one person watching through this commentary that might remember this show called Fat Dog Mendoza.
I remember that, yep.
Then you're probably going to be that one person.
I never imagined he'd be in the call with me.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, that was another show I never really quite got. And Cartoon Network was also... Was it on the Cartoon Network or was it somewhere else? But around this time, there were a lot of weird experimental cartoons as well. And some of them hit home, like with Samurai Jack, but others kind of just fell off the wayside and kind of just ended up being either pale imitations of something else or just never really quite finding their mark and really striking out with it. But Jack definitely didn't have a problem with that. Oh, looking a bit intense there, Jack, buddy.
Well, I mean, he's been transported to the future, and he needs to get rid of Aku in the future to go back to the past. Watch out.
You just had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Well, I'm trying to program myself from saying watcha, because I said watcha for years.
I don't know. If it feels good, do it. So I'm going to continue using it even though it's wrong, and I'll just acknowledge that it's wrong. Hey! I love him.
We're not in the actual Scotsman territory yet, mate. I don't think we're going to get to that in this particular pledge.
Oh, that is a shame. I really do like the Scotsman. He is one of my favourite recurring characters by far.
You can request any episodes of Samurai Jack that you want us to cover, you know, and you can have up to an hour's worth, so that's 3 episodes per pledge.
Yeah, I mean... It would be great to see, like, a few cherry-picked episodes of some particular favourite from pledges. That would be I think that would be a really neat way to go about it.
Speaking of, actually, someone has actually commissioned us to do a few particular episodes of Ed, Ed, and Eddie.
Oh! Tell me who it is so I can express my love to them gratuitously.
I will do so off-air, so no balls were exposed on the TL.
Alright, that's fair, that's fair.
My name is Jack.
So what do you reckon his name might actually be?
I don't know, and I think that's part of the appeal, honestly. Like, just keep it mysterious.
The Nameless Samurai Warrior. Pretty much only give it a name because that's what they saw. Or heard. I love the eyeball dude at the back.
Oh, okay. Like, you could have got a lot more inconspicuous there, but no, just keep with the black hood of mystery, I suppose.
You know, whatever happened to that good old-fashioned just put on a hoodie for no reason? Like, put it up.
I thought you were going to segue to the Family Guy theme song, though.
No, not quite.
Hey, the first 3 seasons of Family Guy, great, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little dicey here and there, but it definitely didn't get better afterwards. I mean, I think there may be a few episodes that were pretty damn good, but for the most part, it was, I wouldn't say it was bad.
Okay, I don't need your critique of the entire show, mate, come on.
Alright.
Did she die? Nope, she's here now, it's fine.
I love that that's just what happened. She just got into like this weird electric...
It's a suicide move, yeah.
Damn it, you took the words out of my mouth. One of the first ocean creatures we actually see in Jack.
Yeah, quite a few actually.
Yeah, one of the big ones is the weird octopus dudes that speak like the Beatles. Especially with the whole thing like, we're sorry we kind of sold you out to a coup. Is there anything we can do for you? And just give him a big ass bag of sushi. It was great. It's like best payment ever.
It was me, Mario looking guys. I did it. Hee hee hee.
They got rockin' mustaches though. Oh, come on, that was uncalled for.
That's what I think of your fucking problems. Go back, create another statue for me, and then die. Die.
He is so bored, you could just tell. He's just like, yes, you've tried this 1,000 times now. Why can't anyone get this fucking statue right?
See, he's not such a bad guy after all.
Well, in before it's like the kiddie's paddling pool somewhere. He has very extravagant idea of what monthly rent looks like.
Yeah, like imagine if all you had to do to pay rent on your house was make a big statue of your landlord.
Like, what would he ask for a deposit?
A smaller statue.
It's like a very small statue, so something you could put on the mantelpiece, perhaps.
Oh, right. I sent him into the future. I didn't kill him. It is he!
Dun dun dun.
Seriously, why didn't I just vaporize him?
Yeah, you know, one of those eye lasers probably would have done the trick, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, he had a variety of options, but he was also on death's door, so I can see why he just went for the surprise attack in the end.
Oh yeah, something that's not too intensive, something you can just get out there nice and quick.
That's a nice shot. Feels kind of redundant to say that was a nice shot in Samurai Jack, which has excellent composition and whatnot.
And you know, after that, just spiders. Lots and lots of spiders.
We're flying! Oh Jesus, we're flying!
Of course they did. You know what else was a really fun episode of Samurai Jack? The one of the gangsters. Oh, that was a mint episode. Listen up, see? Yeah. Also, we got to see Jack looking fly as fuck, which I appreciated immensely.
Was that meant to be like a low-key reference to the anthill mob from Wacky Races?
I believe it would have been, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It would make absolute perfect sense.
This is the city that I was talking about, by the way, like the destroyed city of Townsville. If we see that sign with the dog in it, I'll know for sure.
Well, they'll probably do like a pan shot either in this one, because I believe this actually continues in episode 3.
Yep, there it is. There's the dog.
Yep, there we go. That is your implication that it is probably Townsville. Like, there's a fairly good chance.
And it doesn't look that different, so maybe the Powerpuff Girls just failed after the season ended.
Maybe. It's hard to tell, really, what would have happened in these kind of alternate futures and what have you, but...
Did you see that? He killed the dogs and strung them up on a tree as a warning.
Yeah, that's really dark. And you get to see this not very often in Samurai Jack, but you just get those really odd, dark moments that really just hammer the point home of what Aku has been doing, and kind of just goes, yeah, this guy's kind of a dick. And you kind of just start rooting for Jack to stop him.
That big grey dog back there, by the way, who was digging on the right, that was the big dog of the two stupid dogs.
Yes, that was the one I was referring to earlier, so I guess I got my things mixed up. That's blatantly Muttley.
Maybe. I think Muttley was a bit dirtier than that.
Maybe so. Maybe it's like his less dirtier half-brother or something.
They went to the cinema vision. That means action is coming, Volk.
Oh, there's those spiders. It's like, I hate spiders.
To be continued.
Next episode.
Oh yeah, alright, shut the video down, guys. Volk, episode 2, we learned a little bit about what's going on in the future. Aku has taken over, like, there's the slums, like, people who pay homage to him obviously get special treatment and whatnot, but, he's very ruthless, is Aku, and, we also actually learned Jack's name for the first time, so, how are you feeling about the series so far?
Pretty damn good, if I have to be honest. They did a good job of sort of like representing this weird future that Jack is just quickly overwhelmed by, and they kind of played into like his whole reaction to it very well too. Some of it not so subtle, but I do appreciate the more subtle reactions, like the odd sweat, like the odd lip quiver perhaps. They do a really good job of hammering home both the subtle and the not so subtle in this weird and scary world that Jack has thrown himself into. Also, talking dogs is like, what the hell? It's like, who would be prepared for that?
Speaking of talking, again, like, last episode we had a long stretch of just zero dialogue. This time we had a long stretch of just dialogue, and that's a risk when it comes to making a kids' cartoon. Not that kids are stupid, but their attention spans aren't as developed as, say, like, well, maybe not teenagers, but, like, young adults and whatnot.
That's what I really love about the cartoons that kind of went down the path of having something for both the kids and the grown-ups. Because the kids are getting like this awesome flick of just Samurai Jack tearing shit up, whereas the adults watching are also getting that, but as a bonus, they're also getting all this extra talky-talky stuff that may go over some of the smaller people's heads, but you know, they're pretty much absorbing it all in, and they're having a ripping good time because of it, I like to think. For sure, for sure. So yeah, episode 2, great stuff. We have episode 3 up now, so if you guys want to join us, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Shoutouts to Flame actually finding copies of us to record this on, but did the third one have to be non-HD resolution and quality? I'm feeling the sting, Volk. I'm feeling the entitled sting. Well, you're gonna have to talk to Flame later on. They know he's doing it now, we got a commentary to do.
For sure, mate.
Maybe Flame was a coup in disguise, just like, I know what I'll do.
Ah ha ha! Legs on the TL!
But of course, we get the intro again. Luckily, the intro isn't overly long, but it gets you hyped for what's to come.
Well, for sure. Like, we're watching these consecutively. Just imagine you get a new one of these every week. It's a new adventure every single week.
Oh hell yeah! You never quite know what you're gonna get, because you don't really need the continuity past episode 3, which is really nice. But you know, I would have liked to have watched it in a continuous order at one point, but you know, there were just too many other TV shows to watch at that point, so I was just like, nah. You know, I'm happy with what they did and the fact that it works, and that's probably good enough for me.
Come on, open up those beautiful eyes. There we go. How iconic, Jesus.
I know, right? It's so good.
That I wasn't making a pun, okay? Like, I wasn't... Whatever.
That's fine, I wasn't accusing you of being the pun master like you tend to be, but...
I can rave to this.
I'm raving right now. I'm doing the Big Fish, Little Fish cardboard box.
I'm so British, I shit the Queen.
Actually, one thing I've been getting into is Rob Paulson actually has these videos that he puts up on YouTube, or at least somebody else does, and they get voice actors to act out different parts from like movies and other cartoon shows and things like that, and they'll use the voice of their characters. So like they'll have like the Godfather, they'll have like the voice actor of Goofy playing the part of the Godfather himself, and it's a really, really fun watch. If you ever get the chance to watch a few, I would highly recommend it.
I will send tiny spiders to kill you, Jack, and your little dogs, too. Ha ha ha!
That's just cold.
Yes. Well, they're not really that tiny, so it's going to heat up a little bit here.
Oh yeah, these aren't your standard household spiders. No. These are at least man-sized.
Don't worry, they're all robots, so you don't have to worry about slicing and dicing them.
No need to worry about bumping that maturity rating up, just go ham. Yeah, I think we get the point. There's lots of them.
Well, with 22-minute episode runtimes, you can get away with a bit of extra chaff here and there. That's one thing I think people who criticize, say, SU or maybe Gumball or 11-minute shows don't really tend to understand these days.
I agree. Alright, so what's going on here? Are they trying to hollow out the floor?
They're doing something, not for the benefit of Aku, because they're not slaving, per se.
Oh, we got the blueprints. This is where, all of Jack's hieroglyphics training will pay off.
Oh, yes.
It's gonna come up with a mighty blueprint. Oh, explosives, we could use that.
It will be dynamite.
God damn it.
The samurai!
Oh, he's got an idea.
Here's a pen. What is that abomination? See?
I love those odd moments that just sort of bring to the point home that Jack really has no idea about half of these newfangled instruments that he's having to use.
Oh my god, can you imagine just being so impressed with a pen and whatnot? I'm really simple-minded, honestly, so even something like that still impresses me.
It kind of makes me wonder if they could have had a pre-season 5 thing where Jack kind of gets used to riding his motorcycle. I think that would have been a fun watch.
That would have been really jarring to go from that tone to the season 5 tone, though.
Yeah, just he's gone from scared shitless riding on a flying machine to, oh, I got this badass motorcycle.
Sorry, is that a thing now? And there's no more pens in this entire city.
Well, the dog seemed to be happy with it, so, he must have a good plan up his sleeve.
I'm fine with this being the destroyed city of Townsville, which is a great joke, by the way. It's a city called Townsville. But, I don't want to, cut to, Professor Utonium's scorched corpse at any point.
No, definitely not. And, the less we say about the town of Citiesville, the better.
Oh yeah, that was an episode. It was, all ghetto and whatnot.
Yeah, Utonium got, a job in the city and moved in there, and it was just no, this is crap, we want to go to Townsville.
It's going about as well as you would expect for an army of anthropomorphic talking dogs.
I think they got this under control. A few hiccups here and there, but yeah, you can overcome.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was on purpose. It's calculated.
Yeah, we'll trick Aku by being stupidity. I'm sorry, my words just failed me, though.
That's alright. It's you thought we were stupid, but in fact we were improvising by making catapults. I have to say, they're being pretty creative with this. Jack knows his shit.
They're archaeologists, I guess they kind of have to be.
Little did we know that off-screen that Jack discovered the tower defense genre.
I'm surprised they never made one of those, although, knowing me, there was probably a Cartoon Network Flash game. You remember Cartoon Network Summer Resort?
Vaguely.
It was a series of just adventure games on the Cartoon Network website where you go around and talk to all the Cartoon Network stars and whatnot. You have to find items, and I think the last episode was a dance and a disco.
Ah. I seem to have vague recollections of it, but nothing immediately springs to mind. I didn't really get much into, the Cartoon Network games on the consoles and on the internet and what have you.
Oh, no, this was entirely, Flash-based online.
Oh, yeah, I think when I was on Flash, I was, looking at stuff like Miniclip and things like that, so I never really got into, the Cartoon Network official stuff.
Fair enough, mate, fair enough. I was playing Slime Soccer when it was time to be a bit skeevy and skivy in school.
Which was basically every day you had IT class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I know.
Trust a dog to fetch sticks. Fair. Just swapping one kind of slavery for another, man. It never ends, but Jack is fine with it, so long as the ends justify the means.
Oh, it's fine. He's got a nice apple.
Yeah, these slaves are fed.
I will earn your trust.
A slave is still a slave, even if you feed it,
Yeah, but you know what? It could be worse.
I would ask you to name several ways why, but this is meant to be a light-hearted, jovial commentary. Oh, it's not a slave anymore, it's Battle Horse, TM.
Oh, Battle Horse, you will now be my mighty steed.
I actually can't remember if Samurai Jack had any merchandise, but you know for a fact if there was any and whatnot. You'd have, Warrior Jack and Battle Horse set.
Oh, hell yeah. I would totally buy that if that was indeed a thing.
Don't mind us. Yeah, put it on there. It's like Jack and the dogs, that's their sign.
You can tell he's like, yeah, that's some tight shit right there.
Yeah, that's fucking sweet, bro. Really?
It's like he took my soup. Oh, you know what? I love how much this armor is sort of like reminiscent of what he would appear in season 5. You know, with less like less blatant frying pans involved, but you know, it's uncanny.
Man, are those spiders really slow, or did these guys just work really fast?
You know what? You raise a very good point. I feel like there's a plot hole in this here episode.
No, it's not a plot hole. Like, just because you can't explain something doesn't mean it's a plot hole. Sorry, I got a little bit triggered there.
No, it's fine, but it's just like, what happened? Did the spiders just like stop and just go, no, we're at least like a day overdue. We gotta wait for them to get ready first.
To be fair, they did, like, show only the passage of maybe a day, 2 at most.
Yeah, I suppose so. Maybe it wasn't too bad, you know, those were probably some really high-tech binoculars. They could probably, like, see the other end of the planet with those.
For sure.
I love how, like, badass Jack's armor looks at this, and then you just got the little dog, like, thing on the top, just to completely invalidate pretty much all of the cool factor. I mean, it still looks alright, don't get me wrong, it's just like, it's a goofy attachment.
So we've had a ton of build-up over the first 2 episodes, and now is when all hell breaks loose. So we've had dialogue, here comes the action part.
And notice in this part we haven't had much in the way of spoken dialogue at all. So this is pretty much going to be action-packed and building up to the fight at hand. Oh yeah, this is the good shit right here. This is what you pay the price of admission for.
Jack, couldn't you find less sharp, like, tipped arrows to shoot buttons with? That's going to be unusable after a few hits.
I think that's probably the point. They're hoping to probably decommission the machines eventually.
Fair enough, mate. Yeah, they are tools of slavery, after all.
Oh, look at this shot, thinking he's Hanzo or some shit.
Well, I would have gone for Legolas. I think that just shows the difference in our thought patterns, really.
It's simple geometry. Anybody order a spider kebab?
No one would ever order that.
You know, it's got plenty of iron in it. Hey, you got one, I had to get one in there too. It's only fair.
I'm proud of you, mate. That was glorious.
Why, thank you. I learned from the best. Nice.
Oh no. They've killed tons of us, but these are the first ones that really pissed us off.
It's like suddenly they realize they got programmed with empathy chips. That was my brother!
Why? Why was I programmed to feel pain?
Well, hopefully the steed will be alright. You know, he's just chilling at the moment. Oh, here we go. He's gonna get in on some of this action.
That shoe puff is just stamping the fuck out of them.
Oh god. You just know there's probably some Hypello-esque creatures in this universe. It's just like, all aboard! Oh, there's something really, really stupid with Hypellos that I could probably talk about. Me and a friend actually made up a Hypello called Ish, who would later on become an agent of like the Men in Black or some shit. It was just incredibly random. It was just like, hey, the shoe puffs are kind of cool. We just totally just like make an imaginary TV series out of it.
Oh, whatever floats your boat, mate. Oh yeah, the helmet's off. It's go time.
Serious mode activate. Get your squint on and prepare for battle.
I will say that while a lot of the action is Jack just like trading blows and occasionally jumping a lot, it's shot in such a way that you never really get bored of it.
It is very, very cinematic, and that really lends itself well to being able to keep it interesting as opposed to something like that's just a constant shot. They're always looking at ways to mix it up.
I suppose there's like modern cartoons like OK KO, which apart from like the inconsistent animation, sort of floaty weight to action, does choreograph it very well. I think SU could stand to learn from like OK KO. Or Samurai Jack when it comes to fights and whatnot, but I still enjoy the fights in SU. It's like at a neutral level. Like, it could go up, but I don't think it's ever gone down.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's definitely passable and has its good moments, but there are certainly ways it could probably be improved if they took, like, a couple of pages from, like, Samurai Jack or some other shows. I'm not as familiar with some of the recent stuff, and I know we have a couple of those coming up, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the more recent cartoons have to offer.
For sure, man, for sure. They look really goofy on their hind legs. You have multiple limbs, just run on all fours like Aku God intended.
Well, you know, they got a waddle. I mean, look at them, they got that wagon.
If they didn't see this coming, frankly, they deserve to be shattered.
I was just gonna say. They probably got like Pentium 46 core processors and couldn't even process it. They're about to get owned by the mountain.
There you go. You're probably using up all the jet fuel there, Jack, so we can't get away. Yep, look, see what I told you. But, you know, Jack doesn't really have any concept of, like, jet fuel at this point.
They probably thought ahead on that. I mean, Jack thought of this much. You must know that he must have thought, okay, we should probably leave a couple of these handy to actually escape if I need to.
You were saying?
It does look kind of badass, though. I'm not gonna lie. So the question is, are the dogs gonna get involved?
That's a good point. They've mostly just been staying back and providing Jack with tools at this point in time.
Yeah, maybe that's all like the last line of defense. We'll have to wait and see.
Music's a little bit Avatar-esque right now.
Oh, hell yeah. I can dig it, though.
I think if there's two shows I would love to do commentaries for as a series whole, like every single episode, it would either be SU or Avatar The Last Airbender. Maybe Legend of Korra.
Well, for me, I'm not entirely sure, actually, because I would love to do, like, a series thing on maybe the Venture Brothers, but I'm not sure how well that would actually work out on the whole.
Yeah.
But it sounds like something that would be pretty good. I mean, Ed and Eddie is also another one, just so I could just laugh my ass off at all the episodes. It would just be 10 minutes of just me laughing incessantly at some of the weird things that they do.
Oh, life has many magical swords, Jack boy. Actually, I lied. It's only just the one. Where are you going?
Oh, they surrounded him. But Jack's ready.
Like, if you didn't know any better, you'd think this was, like, the finale of the entire show.
Yeah, I mean, they are throwing a lot at him very early on. I mean, I suppose it does make sense. A lot of them have this weird habit of just sort of throwing tiddlywinks at them before actually throwing the whole kip caboodle at them. Whereas with this one, they're just going, yeah, we should probably say everything, because, you know, this dude almost killed me.
Yeah, for sure. Kudos on using kit and caboodle, by the way. A very underused phrase nowadays.
I like to throw it in every now and again.
Oh, yeah. Who's gonna blink first? Will it be the bugs who can't blink, or the guy with fleshy eyeballs?
Oh, I just got reminded of that episode where he takes out an entire army without even swinging his sword once, because the bots were so incompetent that one of them tripped over a rock or something, and he just set off this domino effect that literally destroyed every single robot.
I don't actually remember that one. See, this is why I said an episode guide would be very, very helpful.
It was the episode where Aku and Jack had a showdown, but Aku had to fight Jack in human form. And there's like this whole joke where he's like going, okay, we'll meet at this place, and Jack goes, wait, is that west or east of this place?
Oh,
and he goes,
that
east.
I remember, yeah.
It's like, are you sure you're gonna get there? It's just like, yeah, it'll be fine. You know, I can give you a ride if you want. Go time!
That's a very Powerpuff Girls sort of animation, that whoosh sound effect.
Oh, absolutely.
I forget, did Tarkovsky work on Powerpuff Girls?
I'm not entirely sure if he did. I know he worked on Dexter's Lab, but I'm not sure about Powerpuff Girls.
I think it was Craig McCracken who worked on Powerpuff Girls.
You could well be right.
Battle Damage Jack. See, actual, like, injuries and such in a Cartoon Network show.
You know when I said that Jack went into serious mode about 5 minutes back? I take that statement back. This is serious mode.
Well, as you know, the less clothes a warrior has, the more prone he is to Spartan rage.
He's like going full on Kratos right now, just like, oh, I am pissed. And there's that iconic scream at long last.
There's a really weird board of Jack, but whatever.
It's just like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have pissed him off.
No, he's actually moving in, like, real time. They just don't understand how a human can go in slow motion.
Then again, it took him like a day to get here, so I'm not sure if they're the ones to be talking about the concept of time.
Yeah, for sure.
Loving the slow-mo, though.
Oh, just cover me in your blood goo, daddy.
Oh, God. Can we just have, like, a Brazzers logo here?
Jesus. It's a good job this was the last of the commentaries there, Jesus, Vogue.
Well, what can I say? I'm in my element now.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Oh, we're still going with a slow-mo. Oh, this is a treat. Oh, is it going to be just, like, completely caked in oil by the end of this?
Most likely. Nipples! We could have attacked him at any time, but we didn't because he's moving in, like, I don't know, Ultra Instinct?
No, he is tapped into the power of the Matrix at this point in time. You know, I'm thinking, like, maybe they should have sped this up at this point.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it's maybe overstayed its welcome a little bit.
Well, you know, that's just Samurai Jack. It goes at its own pace, really, and it doesn't really patronise the audience that much.
Oh yeah, but at the same time in later episodes, you can kind of see that they probably learned from that, to be fair, because a lot of them, they end up going through these scenes very quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these were the first 3 episodes, to be fair. That was a Metal Gear Rising moment, by the way.
It totally was. And there we go, he's entirely caked in oil. I feel pretty good about myself in calling that one.
This will be oil-soaked Jack variant, super rare.
I'm so thankful that nobody in this entire damn Spider Platoon has a match or a flamethrower just stashed away somewhere. Yeah. He would be fucked otherwise.
Yeah, you better run. Tell me, Android, does a machine like you ever experience fear?
No. Oh, is this where we're gonna get, like, the rapid sword slash followed by, like, 50 explosions?
I can't remember Samurai Jack ever having a moment like that, but I'm sure it exists. Oh well, they're dead now. It doesn't matter.
And so, atop the pile of charred robot spider corpses, one man stands atop, standard held high, as the dog archaeologists have been liberated.
Are they still alive? Did, like, some of them could have always just, like, gone away and just killed the dogs while Jack wasn't looking.
Probably, but then again, Jack ain't no amateur.
Fair enough, mate. Oh, Rob Paulson was just loving this shit.
Oh, he could just tell. And so a hero was born.
And this is just where the legend of the samurai named Jack starts. He goes all over the world, saving various creatures and people and nations and whatnot.
Yep, bringing the people forward to oppose Aku's tyranny. Yeah, archaeology ain't really my thing. Although I went to the pyramids once.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how it existed at the same time as ancient Rome and, like, other... Well, it's a long story. Also, I'm from the past. You've been working with an artifact all this time.
This is where the dogs, like, go to their next archaeological dig and they dig up evidence of Top Cat. And it just completely blows their mind.
God, what an apt description of Top Cat, Jesus.
I used to love that show.
I like really Top Cat, but it's crusty as fuck, mate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one that I enjoyed like the odd episode of, but it wasn't something I really got like properly into.
I guess he had a spare robe, like, at the end of all that. I don't recall his mum giving him a spare robe, but that's just a nitpick.
Either that, or, you know, oil's come a long way and they found a way to get clean oil.
I will eat you, Samurai. I'm behind you. I'm not touching you.
That sounds like such an Aku thing to do, just troll the shit out of him.
There we go. Beautiful segue into the credits and whatnot. Alright, Volk, we've watched the first 3 episodes of Samurai Jack. How would you say overall that works as the start to a series?
Very, very solid.
Yes.
They had the nice 2-parter to kind of set the tone of what Samurai Jack will be about going forward. You got the whole future stuff. They got like the unspoken and lots of verbally stuff going on. They've shown you what the action scenes will look like, so they've kind of paved the way of what the rest of Jack will no doubt be like. He will travel, he will find people in trouble, and you can best believe he will kick some robot ass.
For sure, mate, for sure. And from here on out, Jack would become very episodic and whatnot, so you could just, like, you know, run down an episode list and say, oh, that sounds interesting, I'll watch that. And really, until season 5, you wouldn't really be out of the loop, so I definitely recommend if you, like, enjoyed these first 3 episodes, like, especially if you've never watched Samurai Jack before, then again, why would you be watching a reaction? Whatever, I suppose. You know, just go back and watch some old episodes and whatnot. And if you want your own TV comms, our TV comm tiers have been upgraded now, so you can have up to an hour's worth of content, which can be, say, 6 11-minute episodes, because obviously there's like a minute's worth of credits and whatnot here, and I'm not going to be stingy. Or you can have 3 20-minute episodes, or like 23, 24-minute episodes, or you can even have like an hour-long episode, like maybe a minute or 2 under or over. Again, I won't be stingy. Or mix and match, like 3 10-minute ones and 1 23-minute one, and so on. And yeah, thanks for letting us watch this, Rob. Sorry for the wait, but I was just waiting until I had time, I guess. It's no excuses. Laziness. Bad Tom. Bad. I'm just rambling right now. See you next time for another HellfireComms Patreon TV com. Bye bye.
See you there.